All right, let's talk about an emotion that every single one of us deals with, but maybe don't totally understand: anger. We usually think of it as, a bad thing, something we need to get rid of. But what if we started thinking about it like an internal weather forecast? Right? Sometimes it's just a light drizzle of irritation, and other times, well, it's a full-on hurricane. Learning how to read that internal forecast, that's the real game changer.
Have you ever asked yourself this? I mean, you hold it together all day long, you're cool, calm, collected, and then one tiny thing, like your Wi-Fi dropping for a second, just sends you through the roof. It's a classic experience, and believe it or not, it's usually not about that small thing at all. It's really about something called prefrontal depletion. Just think of the front part of your brain as the CEO in charge of making good decisions and keeping your impulses in check. When that CEO has been working overtime all day long, it gets tired. Its ability to manage emotions is just zapped, and that's when it's so much easier to snap.
So, what even is anger, officially? Well, here's a great definition. It calls it a psychobiological emotional state. Now, the most important words in there are varying in intensity. See, anger isn't just an on-off switch, it's a spectrum. And that word psychobiological is key too. It means it's happening in your mind and in your body at the same time. Knowing where you are on that spectrum is the first crucial step to actually doing something about it.
So, to help us read this internal weather map, here's our game plan. We're going to walk through the anger spectrum, from just mildly annoyed all the way to full-blown rage. Then, we'll dig into the difference between a single anger storm and the long-term climate of anger. And to wrap it all up, we'll get into the practical stuff, how you can map your own personal warning signs.
Okay, let's dive right into this spectrum. So many of us see anger as this black and white thing. Either you're totally fine or you're exploding. But the truth is, there are some really important stages in between. And recognizing these different levels of intensity, that's what gives you the power to step in before the hurricane makes landfall.
Let's kick things off at level 1. Annoyance. This is the one we all know well, right? It's that low-level, everyday irritation. It's the person chewing way too loudly next to you, or that coworker who hits reply all on an email to the entire company. This is the entry point, the first sign of a little drizzle on our weather map.
Just look at how subtle the signs are at this point. Physically, you might just feel your jaw tighten up a bit. In your head, your rational brain is still running the show. You know it's not a big deal, even if you're having an entire imaginary argument. And behaviorally, it just leaks out in these tiny ways. A little eye roll, a heavy sigh, maybe a short, clipped answer. You're definitely irritated, but you are still in the driver's seat.
This quote just nails the feeling, doesn't it? It's a temporary thing. You're bothered, for sure, but you're also aware that making a huge scene would be, well, a total overreaction. The feeling is there, but if you don't keep feeding it, it usually passes pretty quickly.
All right, let's climb one step up the ladder. Welcome to frustration. This is where things start to get a little more serious. The emotional volume gets turned up, and the physical signs get a lot more noticeable. That light drizzle of annoyance? Yeah, it's turning into a steady, cold rain now, and your patience is starting to wear really thin.
Now, the big change here is what's happening inside your brain. Your face might get a little red, you can feel that you're physically wound up. And cognitively, this is where your amygdala, your brain's little emotion and threat detector, starts shouting louder than your prefrontal cortex, the logical part. Rational thinking gets harder. And here's a weird one. You might even start to secretly enjoy the anger a little bit.
And this quote just gets to the absolute heart of what frustration feels like. You are simmering. On the outside, you might be holding it together, but on the inside, you are just one little comment away from boiling over. You're almost looking for a reason, right? Some kind of validation that says, see, I have a right to be this angry.
And now, we've arrived at the top of the spectrum, the hurricane. This is rage. We're in the crisis stage now, and it's defined by one thing: a total loss of control. This isn't just being really, really mad. This is a full-on takeover of your system, both neurologically and physiologically. The signs of rage are impossible to miss. Your body is flooded with adrenaline. You might be trembling. Your heart is pounding. Cognitively, your logical brain is basically checked out. It's what scientists call an amygdala hijack. Your threat detector has slammed its hand on the big red button and taken complete control. Judgment is gone. You can get tunnel vision. You might even lose the ability to speak clearly. And behaviorally, well, this is where really destructive things can happen.
Now listen to this, because it's so important. When someone is truly in a state of rage, the stress hormones flooding their body take a full 20 to 30 minutes to clear out of their system.
This is why telling someone, or even telling yourself to just calm down in that moment is literally biologically impossible. You can't just wish it away. You have to give the chemical storm inside your body time to pass.
Okay, so far we've been talking about acute anger. You know, those individual storms that pop up because of a specific event. But now we have to talk about something different, and honestly, a bit more serious: chronic anger. This isn't about the daily weather forecast anymore. This is about the long-term emotional climate that you're living in and day out.
And the difference here is huge. Acute anger is a normal, healthy, temporary response to something. But chronic anger, that's a persistent state of being irritable and hostile. It becomes your emotional baseline. It doesn't even need a trigger anymore because it's just always there, keeping your brain on high alert. And as we're about to see, it literally starts to rewire the physical structure of your brain. And I'm not speaking in metaphors here. These are actual physical changes happening inside your skull. Living in a state of chronic anger makes your brain's threat detector, the amygdala, bigger and more sensitive. It's like turning up the volume on your smoke alarm. Meanwhile, it actually shrinks your prefrontal cortex, the part in charge of logic and stopping you from doing something dumb. It creates this vicious cycle where your alarm gets louder and easier to set off, while the part of your brain that could hit the brakes gets weaker and weaker.
Okay, so we understand the weather patterns. Now for the most important part, forecasting. How can you build your own personal barometer to know when a storm is actually brewing on the horizon? Well, it all comes down to mapping your unique personal anger cues. This is the whole secret, right here. Catching the signs early creates this tiny but critical window of opportunity. Because once you're at a 9 or a 10 on the anger scale, your rational brain is offline. It's too late. But if you can catch yourself at a 3 or a 4, you create a little bit of space between the trigger and your reaction. And in that space, that's where you find your power to choose a different response. A super simple but really powerful tool for this is the anger meter. It sounds basic, but just putting a number to your feeling, saying to yourself, okay, I'm feeling about a 4 right now, it makes the emotion concrete. It takes you from being totally swallowed by the feeling to being an observer of it. It's a way to track your intensity in real time, long before you get anywhere near that explosive level 10.
So, to track your anger, what should you be looking for? Well, your personal warning signs usually fall into 4 main buckets. First, you've got physical cues. How does your body feel? That knot in your stomach, the heat rising in your face. Then there are behavioral cues. What do you start doing? Do you start pacing, clenching your fists? Third are emotional cues. What other feelings are hiding underneath the anger? Is it really hurt or fear or feeling disrespected? And finally, cognitive cues. What are the thoughts running through your head? Is there a hostile inner voice that suddenly gets really loud?
And in the end, it all comes back to this one idea: awareness. It's not about judging yourself for feeling angry, it's about understanding what's happening. When you can map out the spectrum from annoyance to rage, and when you can pinpoint your own specific warning signs in your body, your actions, your emotions, and your thoughts, you completely change the game. You stop being a passenger on an emotional roller coaster, and you become the one who can see the track up ahead and decide when it's time to gently apply the brakes. So now you have it. You have the map to your own internal weather system. You can learn to see the clouds gathering. You can feel the change in the air.